back. We've been discussing with three economists where the rupee is headed, current account balance of the country and growth. The range so far that we have is that the rupee this year maximum goes to 89. So the worst of the depreciation is behind us. And that growth is not picking up so much, probably 6.3 to 6.5. I've been speaking with Samiran Chakrabarty, Upasna, Chachra and Santanu Sengupta. Well, Samiran and Santanu had their word on growth. Upasna, where do you stand on GDP growth for Q4 and FY26?
So we are tracking growth for Q4 at around 6.7%. I think we would focus more on the GVA to get a better sense of the underlying growth momentum. And as laid out earlier, the drivers are agri, rural, to an extent pick up in public capex spending, and also some improvement on the services export side that we are seeing. And that should, let growth settle around 6.5%. So for fiscal 26, we see growth around the 6.5% mark, driven by these drivers.
Okay, so we have 6.5, 6.3 and 6.6 as guesses for FY26. But, I mean, the sympathies are there for you economists to forecast because there is this big tariff overhang. Give me your best estimate, Santanu, if you all have done any homework. If you look at the tariff numbers, the Indian exports to the US is, about 2% of GDP. So what may be the impact on India's GDP, assuming tariffs go higher?
Yeah, obviously, it's a difficult question. You can think of it in multiple ways. One is country-level reciprocity, if President Trump goes for reciprocal tariffs, or you can look at product-level reciprocity. The range in terms of the weighted average differential that we have calculated has been, between 6.5 to about 11.5%. And then you've got to make the assumptions around what kind of elasticity you assume for your exports. So with these assumptions, we think purely from India's point of view, which you rightly pointed out is 2% in terms of the exports, we think it's going to be between 10 to 30 basis points. So it's not a very significant number. However, if you have multiple countries coming under the reciprocal tariff umbrella, and we're going to figure out what happens on April 2nd, then the impact would be larger because you could have some of your intermediate goods being exported to one country and from there the final good going to the US. And if that country also comes under the tariff umbrella, then your export demand is effectively going to get impacted. Our sense is that it's not just going to be hard tariffs only. You're going to have other bargains along the way, and you can have more of non-tariff, measures. You can have a trade deal, which India has been talking about. Indian officials have been talking about with the US. There could be further more happening on the energy front, and therefore the whole gamut of possibilities are there to finally get to that number, which might look very different by the end of the year compared to what you see in terms of the announcement on April 2nd.
Okay. No, I agree. I mean, these numbers help, although I know that there are shifting sands over here. I mean, you may reduce tariffs for the US and you may end up getting flooded with perhaps milk powder from New Zealand or Netherlands. So we really don't know how these things will work. A very quick, if you all can, one sentence answer from all of you. And this is the toughest question. Samiran, your best guess on when capital flows may turn into inflows?
We have taken a view that from a quarter sense, the capital account surplus quarter is likely to be Q2 FY26 is when we get into a capital account surplus in the future.
Okay. So July, August, September probably. Shantanu, you want to take a jab?
Same. July, August, September is when we would think. It's too much uncertainty in the April to June quarter.
My sympathies with you. Upasna, what is Morgan Stanley's best guess?
So as I mentioned, probably second half, and I would side with them. Probably the September quarter could give us some indications.
Okay. Even this would be music to the ears of the market and to investors. Samiran, Upasna and Santanu, thank you very much for giving us a 360-degree perspective of macros and markets and for sticking your neck out in very, very difficult times. We wrap up on Indianomics on that note. Thanks so much for watching.